Hey everybody, this is Repeat Ron, and today we're taking a look at another tier list for Killing Floor. This was suggested most recently, which was the Medic weapon tier list. And Medic weapons are a little bit weird because if you're just going off of base stats of how strong they are, they're going to be ranked quite a bit lower. But I'm going to be trying to look at how good the utility is for them too, but also specifically how good they are for the Medic overall, not with every other class too. So I'm not going to factor that into this list. However, once we get around to doing all the weapons, then I'm certain that some of these are going to rank higher as it goes on. So medic weapons I'm not as familiar with, at least with their stats, as I was with Commando. So I am going to be using kind of a cheat sheet to look over here and see what they are and kind of give you guys a more accurate amount of damage that they can do. So let's get started with Medic. First off, we're going to start out with their starting equipment. So first off, I'm going to pick the Scalpel. Now, this knife is just like everybody else's knife. You'll probably only use it as defensive. And for that, I would rank it as a D tier weapon, but Medic is tanky enough that you really can use the knife as a somewhat okay weapon. You're pretty safe to use it in the early waves to get kills and stay safe, as well as if you are running the poison medic build, specifically that you usually do on solo, not so much multiplayer, but then it can actually stack up a decent amount of poison on things and kill them decently quick. So I'm going to put it in C tier for Medic. Still not like a preferred weapon, but it's not bad on Medic. Medic in particular can use their knife well. They can use it better than most other classes can, I would say. We're going to talk about the 9mm pistol, which I'm also going to put in C tier. It's a decent weapon. The main problem with it is you're never going to use it because you have this little guy with you, unless this little guy is out of ammo. If your Medic pistol is out of ammo, then you will switch over to your 9mm. But other than that, it's just quite a bit weaker than this one. It's decent because, I mean, it's free, so it's similar to the knife. It's not going to be a bad option. So let's see. Meta Grenade. Meta Grenade is going right into S tier. Meta Grenade is the best grenade in the game, in my opinion. It's so good. It heals your allies. It can kill things. It makes certain positions very safe, and you can drop multiple on them to get multiple stacks of poison on enemies and multiple heals. It makes you or your teammates really survive situations that you shouldn't, but it's so good, and it's so good in so many applications. It also has the bonus application of kind of bleeding through walls and doors, so if you throw it against a wall or a door and keep that door closed, or the wall is connected to another room and the walls aren't too wide, you can poison enemies on the other side of it, and it's fairly effective. Actually, a pretty good tactic with a Meta Grenade is when you're running, run through a door, close the door behind you, throw a Meta Grenade at your feet, and keep running. This way you will be able to pretty much outrun absolutely everything and kill all small enemies that are chasing you. So, very, very good. Great weapon. So here is the Medic pistol, and this is where I don't know where I want to put the Medic pistol, because base stats, it does 20 damage, and it holds 15 shots. It only weighs 1, which is really big, and it has about a 350 round rate of fire, which is fine. Its upgrades are actually surprisingly good. It goes from 20 damage at base up to 60 damage when it's fully upgraded, so it triples in damage, and the first upgrade for it does not add any additional weight, which is really good too. Like a max 4 weight for 60 damage a shot is really strong. It also holds a lot of shots, and its ammo is dirt cheap. You can keep refilling this thing, and I think I still want to put this in S tier. I think it belongs in S tier, in my opinion. If this was just how good are all weapons overall, I'm going to spoil this one for the how good are all weapons. This one's still going to be in S tier. It's probably even going to be higher in S tier than it is just on Medic, because 1 weight is insane. It goes with almost any loadout. 20 damage is fine, and a huge magazine, huge ammo pool with a decent magazine size, no recoil, good sights. it makes a very tempting option, even if you don't want to upgrade it, and you do get one upgrade essentially for free, because you're not adding any additional weight. So you can still make it reasonably strong. So let's move on to tier 2 weapons, where we only have one for medic, and that is the medic submachine gun. The medic submachine gun at one point was probably the worst gun in the game. That being said, it has been updated and buffed quite a bit. So the medic submachine gun weighs 3, it does 20 damage, it has 800 rounds per minute rate of fire, 40 round mag capacity. That's not bad. 3 weight for 20 damage is okay. 800 rounds per minute is pretty good. It has good iron sights, or it has good sights, not iron sights. And it has extremely low recoil. I really like the medic submachine gun now. I think it's in a really good spot. When it's fully upgraded, it weighs, I believe, 6. Yes, 6. And it gets 60% more damage, which is around 32 damage, I believe. 32, 33, something like that. That's not bad for 6 weight. It's honestly, you don't really need to upgrade this thing, because the increase in damage isn't as good as something like the medic pistol is. It's not bad by any means. And at weighing 3, it does allow you to take a lot of other weapons. It still has utility and healing. It's still pretty strong. I think I'm actually going to put the medic submachine gun in B tier. I don't think it's a bad option. Alright, so first up at our tier 3 weapons, we have the medic shotgun. And the medic shotgun is quite good. It weighs 6, which is a nice weight. It shoots 6 pellets at 25 damage apiece. That's pretty strong. It actually has a very tight spread for a shotgun. It is semi-automatic for a shotgun, which is nice, and it reloads quite quickly too. It also has pretty manageable recoil for the shotguns as well. It gets a little bit better with upgrades. It doesn't get massively better. I should also mention that every time you upgrade any of the medic weapons, their full heal recharge goes down. So they're able to fully recharge much faster that way. I think the medic shotgun belongs in A tier. I think it does. It's really good. It's pretty strong on medic alone. It does give medic a pretty heavy hitting weapon at close range, and it, like I said, it has overall pretty good everything. I don't think it's quite S tier. It just doesn't quite feel that way to me, but I could see somebody putting it there too. Alright, up next is the heal thrower, and the heal thrower is a little bit strange because it works similar to like the flamethrower does. It does 27 damage each tick on direct rate of fire and has an 857 rate of fire, which seems pretty good, especially when you also add in that it's doing poison damage and splash damage that does damage over time. That being said, it is still just kind of a strange weapon once you're actually trying to deal damage with it. You'll notice that it doesn't do the best against certain Zeds. It doesn't do particularly well against bloats, against husks, against armoreds, the rioters. It kind of struggles with them. It does reasonably well against flesh pounds and skrakes, just because it can apply the poison status quite often, which causes them to lose aggro temporarily and kind of freak out. You can heal your allies with the spray as well, which is great. And it still has the healing darts, so you can still heal allies from quite a ways away. It weighs 7, and it can be upgraded twice. With each upgrade, it upgrades 15% more damage, so 30% more. 30% of 27 is not that much, so its upgrades, I would say, are kind of limited. And with it already weighing 7, it's going to weigh 9 once it's full. 9 could be a problem with other builds, not so much with medic, because you are so flexible. You can really take any weapon you want, so you do have a lot of options there. You still could take like a medic shotgun with it and do a lot of close range damage. You could take the medic pistol and the medic SMG if you wanted for all the healing. Really, you compare these two with just about every other weapon that medic has and use them just fine. I would say this is better on certain boards than it necessarily is overall. In a very enclosed map, specifically like an objective map, it's quite strong, because then you can be healing your entire team and fending off Zeds at the same time. On any sort of open map like Nuked, it's not as good, because you're likely only going to be healing 1 or 2 people, unless your team can cycle back to you, at least effectively. Otherwise, it's going to feel kind of weird. So I think I'm going to put this in probably B tier. I don't know, it's kind of a weird weapon. I could see you putting it B or C tier, because I don't think it has enough damage or enough utility to go up to A or S tier, but I think it has enough to be decent, and go with enough different weapons to be a decent loadout as well. Alright, up next we got the Mine Reconstructor. And the Mine Reconstructor is another weird weapon. I've only used it a couple of times. It's always felt very strange to me. I don't actually own it, and I didn't use it a ton when it was there. I didn't find it super great. I thought it was okay. The idea of being able to lay down trip mines that work the same as bloat bile does is kind of cool. With a weight of 8, that's kind of heavy. That is kind of pushing it to where it's going to cause you issues if you want to take certain weapons, especially when you upgrade it, because it can upgrade twice, so it can go up to 10. That does limit you, at least if you want to stay with medic weapons, to the medic pistol, the medic SMG, and the Hemo clobber. Which none of which are bad options. All of them are pretty good. It does have kind of wonky damage as well, because it does direct impact damage based on how long you've held up the bubble. So it does between 25 and 250 damage depending on how long you've held it. And then it does damage over time because of the poison effect. It can also heal all allies that it hits, which is also kind of nice. I think it's actually in a very similar spot to the heal thrower in a way, in that it does well on certain maps. If you have a lot of choke points where enemies can come, it's very easy for you to set up and do quite a bit. On larger maps, not as much, because in larger maps, for the most that you're going to do with traps is just put it in the general way that people run. So you're not going to have a dedicated kill zone where everything kind of funnels into it. And if you do have that dedicated kill zone where you have the mines there and you have teammates there, when something runs across it, you can heal them as well as hurt the enemy, potentially poison them and cause them that status effect to not only deal damage over time, but cause them to freak out and lose aggro on whoever they're trying to kill. So it's, again, not a bad weapon. It's just, it's very strange and it fits a particular niche. I think I'm going to put this one in high C tier. Like, I feel like it does what it does well, but what it does well is very limited. Alright, moving on to the Hemogoblin. This is another weird weapon. There's a lot of weird weapons that are tier 3 for medic. Now the Hemogoblin does 100 damage on direct hit and then damage over time, causing bleed damage. This also stacks with the number of needles that you hit them with. This thing holds 8 shots and it weighs 7. Or no, it holds 7 shots and weighs 7, which is okay. Its reload is kind of long. It doesn't have the highest rate of fire. It does have surprisingly nice sights, though. I do like its sights. The bleed effect, I should also add, adds multiple debuffs to the enemies that you hit. It not only causes them to bleed out doing damage over time, but it also makes it so they have reduced damage when they hit an ally, they have reduced attack speed so they attack slower, and they have reduced movement speed. Now these buffs go away once the needle wears out on them. I'm not sure if it goes away instantly, if it goes away a little bit over time. If you're also running the poison medic build, then this one also applies poison to it, so you have poison, bleed, and just the actual decent amount of damage that it does. One thing that it kind of struggles with, though, is ammo. You can blow through ammo with this thing pretty quickly. So you're going to need a secondary of some sort. So its upgrades aren't bad. Its recharge time is a little bit lower than others based on upgrade. Its base damage is 20% per upgrade. So you get 40% more damage. So you'll be doing 140 damage plus the bleed time. I'm not sure if damage also scales with bleed or not. I'm not entirely clear on that. It does have the somewhat limited ammo pool, and its weight is kind of weird. Like, it's still, I think I'm going to put this also in B tier. Low end of B tier, I think it's okay for that. It does its job decently well. It's not a fantastic weapon, but it's also not an awful weapon either. What it does decently well. I could also see people putting this in C tier or maybe even D tier. I know there are some people that really don't like this gun. They feel like it doesn't do much. On higher difficulties, it does feel like it does something. It does feel like it slows down flesh pounds and scrakes, at least if you have a decent medic on your team or survivalist using it, then it's not a bad support weapon. Alright, and then the final one is the Hemo clobber at tier 3. The Hemo clobber does 80 damage on light attacks, 130 damage on heavy attacks, 40 damage on a push attack, plus explosion damage on that heavy attack of 200 damage, dealing damage over time and healing everybody within that radius. That's actually a surprisingly high amount of damage. With blocking, you take 60% of the damage you normally would take, and with parrying, you take 50% of the damage that you normally would take, which is quite good. For upgrades, it only gets 10% stronger with each upgrade, and it does add additional weight. That being said, it only goes up to weight of 6 at max. So the Hemo clobber sits in a weird spot. And I'm really debating on whether I just want to put it right into S tier. It's really strong even on medic. I'm not sure though. I think I'm going to put it into S tier on the low end. It still is really good, and it fits in a lot of loadouts because of its weight. It only weighs 4. You can block and parry with it. You can also heal the teammates with it. It essentially allows medic to be a frontline tank, which medic is already a tank, so being even more of a tank just makes it ridiculous, and it's very difficult to kill you with this thing. Especially if you get, if you end up getting either Abomination or King Fleshpound by the end, and you're running around with this, you're pretty much guaranteed to win as medic, because there's not a whole lot that those things can do to you, unless you get caught in a corner or knocked off an edge or, you know, some other weird thing the map eats you. You know, the unavoidable things. I think it does belong in S tier. It's really good. I could see somebody putting it in like A tier for medic though too, arguing that it's obviously better on Berserker, which I would agree, and it is better on Survivalist as well. It's a fantastic weapon on those two. But on medic, it's still a really solid option. So it holds 45 rounds, it has good sights, it has manageable recoil, its upgrades are fine, its healing is good, it tears through small things very easily, and it's pretty good overall. It's not a bad weapon. So yeah, we've talked about the medic assault rifle before. I think that's going to go into A tier here for medic. I said it was S tier for commando, and I think commando can make a little bit better use out of it, where it gives commando bonus utility and already works on their strengths. All of medic's weapons already give them a lot of utility, so that isn't necessarily a huge bonus for them here. It still is good. It still has a good rate of fire, it has a good magazine size, it does decent damage, sights are good. It's overall just very good at everything, so I think it just belongs in A tier. Up next, we've got the Insurgent, the Railgun. Now, this one has a pretty unique ability in that you can fire the healing darts through multiple enemies and they deal damage to the enemies. Well, more so than the regular healing darts do. They actually do a pretty good amount of damage. They can pretty much chew through any of the small trash Zeds. You can one-shot them with body shots even on Hell on Earth without much difficulty. Its primary fire does 400 damage. It does have a slow rate of fire because you have to reload in between every shot, so it has like 25 rounds a minute. Pretty slow there. That being said, once it does hit with the rifle, it also stacks toxic damage on it regardless. And with its healing darts, it also stacks toxic damage as well. The healing darts do 75 damage a shot, which is plenty to kill pretty much any sort of trash Zed, whether you hit them in the body or not. Not so much once you get to medium Zeds. Most of the time then they can tank through a shot or two. You do essentially have infinite ammo with this gun though, with its healing darts. So it's never going to be a bad option. It does weigh 8, which is heavy. With one upgrade, it goes up to 9 weight, and it does it gets 20% more damage. That's all right. So it does 480 damage, I think. I actually really like this gun. I don't think it's as strong as like the Railgun is with the sharpshooter, but it does give medic a pretty good option to hit really hard. And I'm debating on whether I want to put this in A or S tier. I think I'm going to put it in... I think I'm going to put it in S tier. I think I'm going to put it in A tier. I think it's really good at what it does. It hits hard. You can heal people with it. You can heal through Zeds, which is kind of a cool trick shot that you can do. It does a lot for medic, and it feels like a heavy hitting weapon, and you can pair it with any of their light weapons pretty well. You can pair it with the shotgun too. That also works pretty well. And then just kind of use this for medium and long range, and then that for medium to close range. So yeah, I think A tier. I think it belongs there. Alright, then we've got the Vampire. The Vampire is the newest weapon for medic, and it is another weird weapon. Medic has a lot of weird weapons, this one included. So what this one does is it sucks blood from the enemies, dealing damage over time and adding the bleed effect to them, similar to the Hemogoblin. This acts more like a vacuum, a cone directly in front of you, so enemies to the side of you can still hit you and not be affected by it, which is a little bit strange. I imagine it's more strange if you're playing on a high FOV. Then it will even seem stranger, I guess. Once you get the blood bubble out, and once you suck up so much blood, it creates a blood bubble out in front. You can fire it out that does splash damage, hitting everything, dealing damage to it, and healing allies. This does not heal you, though. Also, it will charge up the secondary fire for it, which is a blood spike that you can shoot and has high piercing damage as well as just high damage once you hit things. So the blood bubble does between 20 damage and 200 damage as well as doing toxic damage afterwards. The heal amount is also affected on how large the bubble gets when you use it, and the crystal spike does 320 damage with piercing. Now this thing has a ton of numbers attached to it because it also depends on at what point of the explosion did the blood ball hit them, how quickly the bleed can be, what the suction rate is, how much stagger it has, and with an upgrade it gets 15% bonus damage with 1 extra weight. It weighs 8, so that'd be up to 9. That does somewhat limit your options. This thing, I don't know, it feels strong, but it feels very strange to use because you can kill small Zeds with it very easily with its primary fire, and you can whittle down large Zeds with it like Flesh Pounds and Scrakes simply by retreating, which isn't a bad option. And then its spike damage does a ton of damage to pretty much anything, but the most you're ever going to have is 5, and you can't rapidly recharge its secondary fire. Without me having used it a whole ton, I think I'm going to put it in A tier. It seems strong. It seems weird, but it seems strong, is the thing. If you can get used to it, you'll probably love it. But I can see a lot of people not wanting to try to get used to it, because it does feel very strange compared to most of the other weapons. Alright, then for our only tier 5 and our last weapon here, we've got the Medic Assault Rifle. The other one, the 501. This one fires out medic grenades. I already said medic grenades are S tier. You get 5 of them with medic, so you get another 10 with this, so you can have 15 medic grenades, which can really help you control a zone. Its rate of fire is decent. Its recoil is kind of weird. It does have a shallow ammo pool for the assault rifle, and the assault rifle is just kind of okay. I think probably at the bottom of A tier. I don't think it's quite as good as the other medic assault rifle for certain situations. I think it's more map oriented. It's similar to like the Heal Thrower or the Mine Reconstructor, where on certain maps it's really strong, where you can definitely control areas with medic grenades, or depending on your team comp as well. Like if you have maybe a demo or two and a sharpshooter or two on your team, and they will never really have to worry about stalkers or crawlers getting anywhere near them. Alright, well, I think this is going to be my medic list. It's kind of strange. Like I said, I don't think any of the medic weapons are D tier. They all have some value to them, with the ability to heal and with other odd abilities. Some of these I could see people moving around. I could see the Hemo clobber coming down. I could see the medic assault rifle or medic shotgun going up, or the Really any of these going up to S tier depending on who you ask. And even maybe the Medic SMG moving up to A tier, because it does fit into so many loadouts and it is pretty good at killing trash right now. So if you guys would like to go off and build this tier list yourself, there will be a link down in the description where you guys can go off and do that here. And also if you guys would like to support the channel and get access to these videos a day early, head over to my Patreon, where just for $1 a day, you can get early access to some of my videos and announcements, as well as get a direct line of communication to me. If you would like to support the channel through buying merch, you can do that as well over at my merch store. We have brand new merch, and I think it turned out amazing. We have new Christmas stuff, as well as a new Reaper girl over there. Check those out. Those will also be linked down below. And be sure to use the promo code REAPY to get 10% off your total order. Thank you everybody for watching this. I really do appreciate it, and I will talk to all of you guys next time. Till then, stay cool, and bye!